So maybe we should. What do you guys think? Any updates? I know we've got some new listeners to the show that are very excited about some announcements that have been made regarding HN. I don't know. Do we want to give any updates on that? Jim Watkins, owner of HN, is on the line. Maybe we could just knock that out.
Well, we went live yesterday for about 20 minutes before we crashed. We're having some networking difficulties. The network is not performing, so we are finding some new lines to reach you with. Unfortunately, I don't know when that'll work. It's amazing, and it's unbelievable that this is happening in America. It's not like it's unbelievable that this is happening in America. Consider who you buy service from in the future. That's all I can say. There's only a few companies left, and several of them hide behind several names, but they're really one company. So, which one of you guys is eating crackers now? You gotta stop eating crackers. Oh, okay.
Well, that's probably me. I'm trying to get a connection established here. So.
Hi, Sam. Yeah, you sound great.
You're not
coming. Is this Mr. Trap House? You're coming in great.
This is Tim from Sweden.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to. This is Dr. Truott. This is the story behind the story, and yeah, golly, it's been a crazy 2 weeks for me. I've had to do some lectures and presentations on a quite a large scale. Just something. If it was like 25, 30 people, I would pass to do the show. But when you're asked to speak to a group of 250 or so physicians and practitioners, I think it's an honor to do so, and I did so. And so that was what happened last week. It was right during my speech was at 7:30 till 8:30. So then I had questions and answers till 9:30 to 10. So I was tied up. So anyway, but thanks for filling in, guys. Jim, welcome to the show again. Welcome, Philip. And the guest we have tonight, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a barn burner. I've reviewed what I can on and his background history, coming to us all the way from Sweden. Yeah, well, golly, I just don't want to take any more time on that. Just letting my listeners know, and thank you for all of your emails of concern. No, I'm very much in the saddle. I just have to. Sometimes Friday nights are just tough with other engagements and that type of thing, especially now. But maybe next week I can give you an update on what I presented, because it's really is monumentally groundbreaking. We'll talk more about that later. It's a discovery that I made that has the potential to revolutionize a lot of things, and I'll let it go at that. Philip, you brought the guest to us tonight. Why don't you just go ahead and take the lead, do an introduction, and let's jump right in.
Oh, yeah, great.
I'll ask questions as I see.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I actually, now Tim, I met through Discord, the Ralph Retort show with Ethan Ralph. I'd called in and was talking to him in chat on Discord. We ended up talking about a few different things, and then he shared with me part of his personal story and a bit about, I guess we could call it the grooming climate in Sweden. And shared with me a couple of posters that literally scared me. I had to check one of them. One of them involves, it's obviously very, I would say phallic shaped, but no, it's obviously penises on a not a lollipop, but a popsicle. And then on some event that's asking people to bring your kids, there's another that shows like an adult and a small child, and they're holding hands, and they got the little red heart there. And then I saw some words in Swedish, and I did the translation online, and it says, "No love is illegal." You know what? It's not love if you're doing things to little children. That's selfishness, and that's pure evil. And yes, it's illegal, and it should continue to be illegal. But yeah, Trap House Tim is on here with us all the way from Sweden, and he's got a story that like Dr. True said, this might blow your mind. It blew my mind, and I'm used to seeing stuff like Gary Dowsett from Australia, the safe school czar who's trying to end age of consent laws. But still, once in a while, I see a story or hear somebody's personal experience, and it, I never stop to be amazed at some of the stuff that people just aren't aware of. But yeah, hey Tim, are you there? Go ahead and say howdy to the folks. We got folks listening in on YouTube, on AM and FM radio on 3 continents, and of course at revolution.radio. But yeah, go ahead and jump in on this, Tim, and maybe just tell a little bit about yourself and your whole story about what is the RFSL?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Tim from Sweden, and as you can probably hear in my voice, I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first ever live show that I've ever attended, and I'll try to do my best. So,
great.
Yeah, so I'm a guy in my late 20s from Sweden, and what I want to share with you is basically a story of how when the adults in a child's life don't pay attention to what's going on or show any interest in what the child is doing and what's going on, that there are predators out there that will take the place that you aren't filling, and if they have bad intentions, things can go really, really bad real fast. And that's what happened to me. I guess you want me to start right away with the story, or do you have any questions?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and jump right on in it.
Okay, so it all started with my family life not being very, very good at all, with, controlling mother and stuff like that, emotional abuse. And she was in no way whatsoever interested in what I was doing. And, there wasn't any trust that had been built up between her children and herself. So at least I never felt that I could share anything with her. So I sought, to get that outside of my family. So I sort of became a different person outside of my own house, where I didn't do the best decisions for myself, because finally I felt the freedom, and I sought what I felt I lacked at home. And that's when a friend of mine's father actually targeted me.
Wow.
I sort of started sharing with him, small bits about how I felt about, my sexuality and stuff. And he honed in on me real quick, because it actually went from me hanging out with my friend at his father's house to him inviting me on my own, me being like 13, 14 at the time, with like this 50-year-old man. And, it was actually, it's scary looking back at it now, because he took me on trips and he bought me gifts, the really big bag,
earning your trust. Yeah.
Yeah, by giving me gifts and at least pretending to listening to me, and that's really scary because it very quickly developed from him, doing things to seem nice for it to turn sexual,
Mm-hmm.
and it went full on. Even he convinced me to prostitute myself to him.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, and I was like 14, 15, and this was like my first sort of like mentor,
Because
like
you had a bad relationship with your family, you're seeking like approval and sort of the father figure you don't have at home, I guess. You think you found it. Next thing you know, it goes from gifts and trips to wow.
He mentored you into a bad situation.
Oh yes. And I want to defend my father actually, because he's not really to blame, because my mother did a lot to separate us from him. He actually lives like half the country away, and with the custody battles and stuff like that, things weren't really in his favor to begin with. So I wouldn't lay any blame on my father at all.
Family courts are generally biased against the dad. It doesn't matter if mom is on drugs and a prostitute and beats the kids. They go, well, she's a woman. So
I just wanted to say that,
Story.
I just
oh
wanted
no,
to
yeah,
defend
thanks
him.
for clearing that up. Yeah, like I was saying, we want your story, just the facts. From what there's no need for embellishment. We don't need to spin this. No sensationalism, just your story as it happened. Yeah.
And the thing is, I think excluding my father, my family life and the whole adult world, in a way, all the people around me, that's who failed me. Like the adult people that were around me that saw this, because this guy took me to like gay clubs and fucking. I'm sorry. I was about to swear. He took me to gay clubs, and he took me to saunas, and he took me to like gay bars. And I was a young kid. Like I was obviously not like an old like adult looking guy. I was like I was barely like a teenager at the time, and not a single person said a thing. And that's the most scary part, because they're like, well, what's the reason? Is it like, do they see this so much? Is this something that happens a lot that they just don't think about it? Or is it like a hush secret, like you don't say anything? Or is it just, that they're scared, that, how dare you accuse me of doing something with this boy, That's the scary part for me, that we weren't secluded at all. There was always a lot of people around, and it was like a nightclub scene, and so there was always people around. This wasn't something hidden. Like this didn't all happen down in the basement, where he was like, yeah, come down in my basement. No, we were out amongst people,
Did you feel gaslit by that? Like, I'm sure that was part of what, like, when you see other adults and nobody's saying anything, then you're, oh, well, this must be normal. This must be okay. Nobody's saying anything. But did you get a feeling sometimes like, I don't think this is right? But then it's just like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah, like, I'm experienced with being gaslit myself. And that's what it sounds like to me,
I would say so. Like there was mostly, I felt that there was a positive vibe to it. When we were talking to people, they seemed to approve of like me, like the whole like coming out, blooming, like a gay youth type of thing, right? They seemed to be positive about that. But there was one point where I sort of, at least the only time at the time where I felt something was off, usually, like generally, I didn't think anything was wrong until like a couple of years afterwards. But we met a guy at one of the gay bars, and I ended up going home with him. And he told me that, hey, you know, the guy you were with, he told me that you were 19. And I told him that I was 14. And he still took me home.
Now, was that your friend's father there that basically passed you on to this other guy?
Yeah, he basically pimped me out.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's wow.
So
that's horrific.
Yeah, and
you know, I just want to say, if anybody's listening in and you've been in an experience like this is something that, you know, the issue of grooming and that kind of thing is something that, you know, I've had friends and loved ones that have experienced it. So it's an issue that weighs hard on my heart. And one thing that a lot of people deal with, and, you know, if you've had an experience like this, I just want to remind you, it's not your fault. You did nothing wrong, you know, because that's something that a lot of times the survivors of these kind of things, they end up, it's not the sociopathic abuser that feels guilt. It's the victims that spend the rest of their life going, what did I do wrong to have this happen to me? What did I do wrong to deserve this? So anybody, you know, I don't know if anybody, you know, we're broadcasting to enough people that I'm sure, I don't know who you are, but if you needed to hear this, it's not your fault. You don't have to feel bad about this. It was that sociopathic abuser. It was their fault. It was their selfishness that caused this. But yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, Tim.
No, that's fine. But yeah, you're exactly right. I want to say this to anyone who's out there who's shared a similar experience, that you're not alone. And the next part of my story is going to be a bit dark as well. But I just want to say that in my life, there was a lot of drugs involved because of this when I started to spiral down mentally. But there is help. You can get help, and you know, it's actually a miracle that I'm actually alive today to tell my story. And I don't want the same thing for you. If you're using drugs to cope, I just want to say that I understand you. You know, I understand the need and I understand why, but you got to get help, professional help, therapy, before it gets too late. And so next part of my story here, there are some empty holes in my memory, but I remember that shortly after, like after maybe half a year or to a year, this went on, and then it abruptly ended. And when I started to go to, I think it's the Swedish equivalent of high school, and I moved to another town, and things were sort of quiet for like a year and a half, and sorry, let's see, my brain is a little bit slow. I'll take another sip of coffee. Yeah, well, that's when I started to realize, like when we started to have like sexual education classes about like consent and stuff like that, that's when things started click in my head, where it's like, this was messed up. What happened to me? That was rape. Even though I at the time felt that it was okay, that's because I was manipulated to think it was okay. I was groomed. What the hell? Like, you know, and suddenly I started to realize, you know, all the people around me that didn't say anything or didn't notice, and my own family, who they never showed me any support in anything, and we didn't build any trust. Like, you know, I carried this with me for almost 10 years. You know, I realized that I was raped and I couldn't tell my parents about it, you know? Like, can you imagine how messed up that is? That I felt that I would get, you know, even more in trouble by telling.
You feel like it was your fault, right?
Yeah, exactly. And even
part
to
of the
this
whole
day,
grooming thing, they, you know, they make you isolate you. Yeah. After the romance phase, after the trips and gifts and things, then they, you know, then it turns sexual, and then after that, there's the guilt phase, and you feel like you've got a secret, you've got a shame, and yeah, that's wow.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, and that's when you know, in high school you start meeting a lot of different people, and that's when drugs started, you know, seeping into my life. I remember the first summer, like the summer break, me and a friend, we started a metal band, and we started doing you know, tons of drugs. And we, I remember we played Minecraft for the first time when it came out. We were, you know, stoned out of our minds, playing Minecraft and you know, writing songs. And for about 2 to 3, 4, 5 years, we played music and you know, toured around locally. We were sort of known locally, you know, just playing metal and having fun. So I sort of lived the, you know, rock and roll lifestyle pretty early on. But after that, you know, I got my education, like, you know, it's basically like the arts in America, I suppose. It wasn't really worth anything. Like, okay, you can play a guitar. Now go flip those burgers, you loser. You know, that's basically what I did to myself. But that's those years. I mean, even though I wish I could go back and change what happened to me, I wouldn't change those years, because they were, I realized a lot about myself as a person, you know, just rocking out and expressing all the pain and all the messed up stuff I carried inside myself through the music. But after that, you know, I you know, I was, you know, I had, you know, rent to pay, but I had no job, and I got into the government branch of like unemployment, and I was being passed around, you know, you know, basically I was passed around these trial employments, and I got like a little bit of cash and could barely scrape by. And so I basically started dealing drugs. And that's why I'm called Trap House Tim, because I sold drugs out of my house to survive.
Wow.
And that's when, you know.
I didn't know. I figured it was that, or, you know, Trap House is also a style of music. I know you mentioned the club scene, so I figured it was one or the other. That's wow.
Well, yeah, Trap House is slang for like a drug house or a crack house. But
exactly, right. By the way, there is an outpouring of support in the chat, and the guy from Exposing Exploitation Academy Awareness is listening in.
Well, thank you. Thank you a lot.
If you look in the Skype, he was mentioning you as well. He's apparently had a similar experience. He said just wants to give you a hug.
Well, I want to give all of you a hug as well, because, you know, there's a lot of love for all of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you from my small Swedish heart. Thank you.
That's sweet. You know, this is heartbreak. It's important stuff.
Tim, let me jump in. This is Dr. Ott here in Utah. Let me just I have a couple of questions to kind of focus in on your story, and thank you, sir, for the courage to come out and talk about it, because it's opening wounds. It's it's hard to do. So I just say thank you for your courage to say it and do what you're doing now. Let me just ask you, and hopefully it's not too pointed questions for you, but how old are you currently? Can I ask you that?
Thank you for letting me come on. I'm very happy to, you know, that people want to listen. I'm 26,
Okay, so you're still a relatively young man, and you've obviously know the difference between what's good in life and what's bad in life. You've come in you're awakening to tell a story that this is not okay. And I got to tell you, Tim, you're one of, sadly, tens of thousands of young men. There's 2 weeks ago, on the 1st of October, actually, the Mormon Church has what's called a semi-annual general conference here in Salt Lake City. Now, some of my closest friends have left Mormonism because of experiences that you just exactly explained. It's happening. It's not, and it's just not LDS. It's not Mormon. It's Jehovah's Witnesses. It's even the Southern Baptist Convention, for heaven's sakes. This is across the board. And it seems like more and more there's a group of people that use religion as kind of a cover for just this type of activity. They actually pimp out, for want of a better word, young men like yourself to some very nasty older men and gentlemen, and they're abused. And it's there's people just like you, just exactly like you, that are coming out telling the story and screaming for change within the system. And we're talking the religious system. There was if you were just to go online and just Google up this ex-bishop, Mormon bishop, his name is Sam Young. Sam organized a march this the general conference weekend, 800 people strong, that marched all the way down from Salt Lake to the Mormon church headquarters, and then up into the Capitol building of Salt Lake City, all about exposing just what you're talking about. You will not believe the people that was there speaking. The actual son of Jerry Sandusky was here talking to us. There was we tried to get Marie Osmond. Marie Osmond was sexually abused, radically so.
Oh
she
my
came
God.
out. Yeah, she did. She actually came out and
knew.
told her. Yeah, 2018. She told her story on Dr. Oz's show, and many people just didn't quite connect just how deep this went. Marie just doesn't want to be a public figure, and for whatever reason, she just has skeletons, I think, to hide away. But I'm just saying, this was shocking to me, Tim, is your story. I wish it was isolated, but when I hear 800, and those are just the tip of the iceberg of people telling their story, I'm just scratching my head. Says, what is wrong with society? What is wrong with? I'm assuming this happened in Sweden, but it's all over the world happening, and it's just the power brokers of this world, the people that really have a lot of clout and influence. We talked about this on this show before. The real reason why Hunter Biden was in trouble in Ukraine, and why Joe Biden came in as Vice President Biden and absolutely pressured the Ukrainian prosecutors not to look into this sexual predation that's happening, and young men and young women being brought into sexual slavery, sexual bondage worldwide. I mean, thank you again so much for telling your story, but I just want to point out, folks, this is so widespread. I can't overemphasize how terrible this predation is. I know, Philip, thanks for bringing Tim on. I'll let you just go ahead and continue. A lot more area to come up with. This. Oh, yeah. I want to just. Are you aware of North American Man-Boy Love Association, Tim?
NAMBLA. I've heard about it. Yes. I don't know very much, but I've seen a couple of things here and there, and I've read a little bit about them, but I wouldn't say that I'm very informed on the subject, but I know about them.
This was NAMBLA, North American Man-Boy Love Association. Their logo is, and I quote, "Sex before 8, before it's too late."
That's their logo. I am not making this up. They used to have this all blatant on their NAMBLA website. And this was established by a United States congressman by the name of Barney Frank, openly gay. Barney Frank, who came in and he bragged about his page boys being more than just messenger boys. Are you following me?
Congressmen who had page experience. Yep. There was a documentary, by the way, for anybody listening. If you want to know more about NAMBLA from the perverted horse's mouth, chicken hawk, you're going to need a strong stomach, because these documentarians just roll the camera and, hand the sickos some rope for them to hang themselves. And they sit there and they're trying to explain where, it's a beautiful thing and it's all, and like you can see there's a disconnect. It's like some of these sickos don't even realize, they think what they're doing is okay. A lot of these pedophile activists, they think it's a human rights issue because children should have the right to be raped. No, children cannot consent.
That's so wrong. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Guys, this is a listener-supported operation. Please donate. Go to the support page and donate. And just realize it is so wrong. There's nothing right about that. You have obligations, whether you're the parent or not, of being a proper mentor for kids. When they're adults, that's different. When you do your best, you find your date, you find the one that attracts you. When they're adults, when they're kids, you need to protect them, and that's a society obligation. That's just not a parental thing. It's a society thing. And Tim, I am so sorry you ever put into such a position like that. I don't think it has anything to do with being a homosexual or not or anything. If being raped when you're a kid is awful. It's an awful thing, and I'm sorry you had to go through that.
The majority of the gay community for the past 40 years or so, the pedophile activists, some of them are trying to turn it into a human rights issue, into a gay issue, but I think most normal, sane people realize that the LGBTQ community, the majority, the mainstream community, they don't want none of that. They fought for decades for legitimacy, and the last thing they want is for the old rumors from the 50s that all gay people were pedophiles, and that's not true. That's not true at all. So of course they want to distance themselves from that. However, there's a little sliver in between, the pedophilia community and the gay community, and there's guys like Harry Hay and Gary Dowsett and Kevin Jennings. There's this little sliver, and whether you're straight or gay, we all need to speak out against that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and then I'll mute and go back to listening. But in I think it was 2002 or 2003, it was right in there. The NAMBLA had their actual national convention, of all places, Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Grand America Hotel, one of the nicest hotel facilities in Salt Lake City. It's where the visiting basketball teams, like when they come to play the Jazz, they all are put up there at the Grand Hotel. This is the finest of the fine in Utah. And so I heard about that, and I got, because of my radio press credentials, I got a press pass, and I went in and just to observe. And Jim, you're absolutely right. The central theme of the whole convention was, we have every right to do this. We have the right to groom these young boys the way we see fit. And what shocked me, because I'm a radio talk show host, wanting to get interviews, and if they had any idea that you were that this was in any way, shape, or wrong morally reprehensible or wrong, they would just get almost violent with you. That you're being an absolute shall we say, homophobic, not into the mainstream. You don't understand how widespread this is, and it's okay. But when you had
homophobe.
Well, no,
I'm an anti-kidophobe.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's my point. That's my whole point. But they want to twist it to make you feel like you're the one that's got a problem, not them. Now, wait, I'm sitting there looking in the convention, the ballroom. There was probably, I would say, 250 adult men. There was quite a few. It was well over 200. And all through it were also young boys. I didn't see any young girls. Young boys, some as young as 4 or 5, I would say. Definitely prepubescent. So again, the whole logo on the screen is sex before 8, before it's too late. So here's these little innocent lads, these innocent boys, obviously looking. And you know what was sickening to me when you said in the first part of your show, they actually passed out lollipops, suckers shaped like erect penises. Some of them were circumcised, some of them were not, but they handed them out free to get. And these kids were. So here they are. I'm sitting there. There wasn't any cameras allowed. They wouldn't let me take a camera in, but I witnessed these young boys. Can you imagine putting the whole lollipop in your mouth and sucking on it? Grooming them. I'm sitting here. Where's the moral majority? This is just wrong. I mean, I'm sorry. These people they shouldn't have the rights to do this. These are kids, innocent little ones. You know, many of them are easily underagers. Oh, here they are sucking on this lollipop, this sucker, and I got physically sick to my stomach. I wanted to go punch somebody. I got a gut wrench. I had to leave. And then as I was leaving, I looked out. What was shocking to me was the people that I recognized. They're from Utah. These were high-level businessmen that I knew well. These were high-level churchmen, authorities that I knew well. And I'm saying, no wonder they don't want cameras anywhere on that floor. They have security that stops any cameras from coming in. If this is right, and this is honest, why don't they want cameras taking pictures of these people? Now, I that's my soapbox. That's my anger. I was scarred by that. I really was as a journalist, as a reporter. And what scarred me, I got to tell you this, guys, is I came back and I wrote a paper. I wrote what I wanted to have published in newspapers about this. Do you think any of the mainstream newspapers in Utah would touch this story?
Right.
No.
Now, I read that, I'd heard of this guy before. I just looked up his name. I didn't recognize the name, but I remember now that, and it's the classic story. Somebody goes, hey, there's some deep, dark stuff in your organization. And the organization goes, oh, we'll do something about that. You're banned. Instead of fixing the problem, they get rid of the whistleblower. It's astounding. And it's not just LDS. The Baptist Church, there was a huge scandal. Of course, the Catholic Church, the Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witnesses. And then there's a lot of other little creepy subcults like the Family International that are even worse. And, and once again, I want to just say this, just like with the majority of the LGBTQ community, the majority of the religious community find this stuff sickening. So I'm not condemning religious people. I'm religious myself. I'm not condemning, people in the queer community, though I'm not queer myself. But whether you are a part of either of those communities or not, we've all got to take note. And because this stuff thrives in the darkness, people don't want to think about it. They want to imagine it's not happening. And that's how it happens. When nobody looks, when people aren't willing to see, that's how it happens.
Yes, indeed. Well, listen, I want to get back and hear more of Jen's story. I want to I had to say those things because it's a soft spot for me. As a believing Christian, I believe the New Testament is God's word. I believe there's reasons why. When you read what Jesus himself called the little children together and surrounded them around his knee, the original Greek, he says, he that would offend one of these little ones. And the Greek word for offend has basically sexual connotations. He would sexually abuse or let me just say it frankly, hurt one of these little ones sexually. Would better that a millstone be put around their neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. Yeah, that's what absolutely. Jesus thought about this. Okay, so it cannot be justified. It cannot be right. These things are, you said it best, Philip, thank you. These are cockroaches that are operating in the darkness, and they just don't want the light shining on them. And unfortunately, it's people with power and money and wealth. Well, again, Tim, I'll just mute myself, continue on. Philip, thank you so much for bringing Tim on tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again. I just want to say first, apologize for any noises in the background. I got 3 rats in the cage next to me here, and they are nocturnal, and they're having a party in there right now. And the reason I have them so close to me is because they're sort of my therapy animals. I'm holding one of them right now to help with my anxiety.
Like in the chat, I remember you mentioning rats, and I was talking about because I had I'm not a pet guy because I don't like to clean up poop and things, but I did love my little pet rat Erasmus.
I'll just say this: you can actually litter train rats. They're very smart. They're very smarter than dogs. Sociable.
Yeah, give them peanut butter, they'll run them forever.
Yeah, I think everyone can learn something about themselves and about caring about animals by owning a rat or handling a rat in their life. But yeah, can I what's it called? Can I shout out my own Twitter? I have my own Twitter where I usually only post my rats.
Absolutely. So please do it, Tim.
Yeah, so for anyone who's only interested in rat posting, I won't be doing much of the political stuff, but I will do rat posting on my own Twitter, Rat Daddy Tim. I have this profile picture of a mouse in overalls. I'm sure you'll find it. So if you want to see my rats and whatever I get up to with my rats, then just follow me there. So yeah, that's the rats.
Now, what was that again? I just opened up Twitter. What now?
Rat Daddy Tim, all in one word.
Rat Daddy Tim. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. All right. So I don't know. Do we have how long do we have until the break? I think because
about almost 20 minutes.
Okay, because the second part of my story is a little bit longer. It's because. The effects of what happened to me are actually worse than the actual rape itself. At least I would say, because this ruined my life. This really stopped me from being able to be a functioning adult in society. I only recently, these last 2 years, managed to get back on my feet. Like I got myself a full-time job for a whole year. I got myself my own apartment. I got pets. I lost 40 pounds in 8 months. I really turned my life completely around, but it was hell before that because, I felt that sorry, emotions are bubbling up. I never felt heard, I like, who could I talk to? There was no one I could talk to who I felt, I either, could understand me or that I trusted, because my trust has been completely broken. like my rats, like taking care of them in like a unconditional love sort of way, and learning for them to trust me and so on. That's one of the first steps in my therapy, to start trusting people again. I can't trust people. Like, I never relax around human beings whatsoever. Like, you know, I live with constant anxiety, like 24/7. It's fight or flight constantly. And across, you know, over these 10 years where I didn't know how to find help, or you know, I didn't know who to talk to, I just learned to live with that. So right now, I'm like in constant full anxiety mode. Like, you know, I'm actually shivering right now, and it's actually pretty normal for me to just be all shivery. Like I'm like a hurt animal. You know, I'm like in the back of the cage. I'm ready. Like, if you move, I go for your throat. You know, that's how I am, and I'm always like that. And I've learned to live with this, like during my job. You know, I've had to like tell my coworkers, like, you know, don't, you know, be loud when you walk into a room. Don't sneak up on me. Don't touch me from behind, because I will scream and I will attack you. I have a problem. And they've luckily they listened to me, you know. And but yeah, you know, I went so far down in the like in the drug hole. Like, I've done everything in the catalog. You know, I've done weed, cocaine, mushrooms, LSD, ketamine. It actually went so far that I almost overdosed on ketamines. You know, I had this powder, and I sat at home. I think it was like in the middle of the night. I snorted a pile of it, and then suddenly everything just started to spin, and my heart was going out of control. And I was like, oh God, this is it. I'm dying. And it went on like that for a couple of hours. Like, I stayed up all night, and then I went into a 4-day psychosis where I couldn't sleep. My emotions were up and down. Like, I could laugh 1 minute, and then I could like cry, like bawling, tears, you know, streaming down my face like the next minute. And after that, something sort of clicked in my head where I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to do something. And to be honest, the drugs have damaged my brain so much that after that, there's just like black, like parts of my memories where it's like just flashes where I started doing better. To be quite honest, I'm not going to tell anyone to do drugs or endorse drugs, but I'm going to be honest with what worked for me. I started doing LSD because I heard that the psychedelics could help you find yourself, like in a spiritual soul searching type of way. And across a couple of years of doing that, I started breaking out of my own bubble. And I think it was a combination of the psychedelics and me being more conscious about wanting a better life rather than just numbing all the bad memories with drugs. So, I started getting internships, and then I found an internship at a hotel locally, and I was there for like a month. And I was like, I like being in kitchens, and, this is my type of environment. And I went on an education to work in the kitchens. And basically it went on from there to doing some summer jobs and doing part-time, and then a whole year full of full-time. And now I'm back to part-time. And this is where we are right now. I'm in therapy. I got about 20 weeks more of therapy sessions to go. I'm, I'm paying my bills, and I'm just trying to live a good life, figuring out, a lot of things about myself, like where I want to be and the next step in my plan. And even, even sexually, I guess I can be honest to say, I'm bisexual, and, what I like, I'm not going to go into detail, but it's, pretty complicated, because it's when you've been through trauma, some of the things can, put tracks, or it can put, it can affect what you like sexually, and that's something that's difficult to accept. But at least now I have control, and I have control over myself and my own body. So that's what I want to say to all the people out there. Like, if you enjoy something that you can trace back to your trauma, you shouldn't feel ashamed of that. You shouldn't feel wrong about that, because as you have to accept who you became. You have to look at who you are and what you can do and how you can fix it, and what you can do to sort of get your life back into control. At least you can say, well, I know why it's like this, and that means that you can have control over it. You know what I mean? I hope I'm making sense. There are some language barriers, but I hope I'm making sense in what I'm saying there. You shouldn't be there is this meme and joke about, like, daddy issues, mommy issues, but you shouldn't be ashamed of what you feel that you need or what you like. Because you won't be able to change that. It's a complex thing, and it's better for you to accept who you are and work with who you are, and take back control over your body and your own sexuality. I guess that's the best way I can put it.
Well, it's slightly off topic, but speaking as a Tennessean from Tennessee, in the United States of America, let me just say that as I know native speakers whose grammar is far worse than yours. So, I mean, like, I know lots of Tennesseans who, they don't speak what's called American English. They speak Southern English or Tennessee English, and it's not quite exactly. Yeah, no, you're great, man. Absolutely.
Okay, well, yeah, you can blame Swedish education for that, because I remember when I went to school was actually when they started introducing English as like one of the core things. And of course, this goes back to being a gamer. Of course, I was a little gamer kid. My dad bought like a computer with like shareware, and Doom was on there, and I was like a little kid playing Doom, trying to understand. I remember playing games. Dad, what does this game? What does the game say? And he had to come in, and he was like, "You have to learn English then." And I was like, "Okay, then I'll tell my teacher." And it was all so I could play Doom properly. So
for all you folks out there who think video games are bad, yeah, absolutely. Here's a positive gamer story from Sweden. Yeah.
We're being educational up in here, gamers.
Yeah. Oh, and one other thing I'd just like to say, gamers, rise up. In the words of what's his name, Mark Kern, the guy who said Hong Kong. Yeah.
Disavow.
Sorry about that.
I'm representing IKEA. I can't disavow.
IKEA.
I'm just kidding.
IKEA. That's really fancy furniture, but you've got to put it together yourself.
You got to be a man and do the screwing yourself once. If you want, I can do an imitation of a proper Swedish, how they usually sound whenever they speak English, if you want.
Oh, yeah, do it.
Hello, welcome to Sweden. We are going to IKEA.
Yeah.
Why are we going to IKEA?
No, Sweden.
Why are we going to IKEA, Felix? Because it's where I live. Why do you think the bookshelf is called Billy? It's my brother. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, I can't do anymore. I'm ashamed.
That's the Muppet character. You ever heard of the Muppet character, the Swedish chef? It's like
corn. Shrimp. Okay, so I wanted to ask. I cope with using dark humor at times, and what your lovely friend earlier talked about Jesus. Am I allowed to make a dark joke involved Jesus? In this topic, is that okay? May I? I'm not gonna swear, but it's gonna be.
Yeah. So long as it's FCC friendly, it should be okay. Okay,
well, I'm gonna say this. Like when Jesus said, "Come unto me, save the children," that's not what he was talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly. That's the problem with some of these. Exactly.
Save the children, come unto me. It's like, no, hold up.
Yeah. Some Catholic priests and Baptists and some people misread that quote apparently. Absolutely.
Jesus is like forgiveness stops. It's like time for you to go on the cross. Tiberius, get the cross.
Now I love dark humor. Dark humor is like food in the Soviet Union. Not everybody gets it.
Oh God. Oh.
Yeah, I went there. Hey, I think we're about to head up on the second hour.
We're going to have a break here.
Just a minute.
Yes. Are we going to talk about the posters afterwards?
Yes, let's do that. Yeah. And the RFSL, or is it RSFL? I'm getting it confused.
RFSL is in Sweden. They're like an organization for, I think, since the 70s, or maybe even earlier than that. They've been like the leading organization for sexual education in our country, and they do a lot of LGBT events. So, but they've been in an organization for a long time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's definitely get into that. And I think you said you've got some pictures you were going to share with us in the main chat, and I'm sure one of us, any one of us will probably, there's a lot of folks in the Revolution Radio chat room today. Oh my gosh, it's hopping, y'all. But yeah, speaking of which, go to revolution.radio and you can join the chat there. I only discovered about that fairly recently, but yeah, it's actually hopping any time, day or night, generally.
Good to hear that a lot of people, they're coming to listen. It touches my cold Swedish heart.
Guys, we are probably on the break. So they said that 4 minutes too, we'd be on the break. So we got like 3 minutes to hang out and talk.
Right.
Okay, I think Dominic was going to play some bump music. So listen for it when it comes in. We are on the break, I believe. Yes, so we're having problems with the main studio line, but it's broadcasting just fine. So let's
you let me know when you need those servers, and we'll put something up for you. Yeah, we're gonna help.
Yeah, that's where you had to get a hold of Dominique and the technical team, because I'm illiterate on that.
Hey, Jim, this is Mr. Rowe.
Hey, Mr. Rowe.
Hey, how you doing? I'm in the background here, and yeah, technically we would be on the break right now. I think we're actually just broadcasting right on straight through. So if Dom didn't play the music or we didn't hear it, we can just continue rolling.
Well, then let me sing, because I got a request.
Okay, go. Listen to Revolution Radio.
So I'm going to sing a song I heard by Blind Willie Johnson. I don't know if he's the writer or not, but it goes, Let it shine on me, let it shine on me. Oh, let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. Let it shine, oh, let it shine. Oh, let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. My Lord, he's done just what he said. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. Heal the sick and raise the dead. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, let it shine on. Well, let it shine on. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. Shine on. Oh, let it shine on. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. I know I've got religion and I ain't ashamed. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. Angels in heaven done wrote my name. Let your light from the lighthouse shine on me. All right, well, hey, that's all I got, guys.
Hey, that's we can listen to that for a while. You got a talent there, Jim. I'm going to clap if you could hear me. Clap, 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 clap. Good job.
Anyway, people requested that from me. So.
That's man, I love it. So Tim, yeah, let's. I want Philip just to keep on going with you. This is Dr. Ott. Again, just for the top of the hour, we need to just identify this is the story behind the story. We are simulcasting tonight. We have the main feed coming through Revolution Radio. And so we also are picked up in the Philippine Islands by the inestimable Major Burdock and team at Goldwater, which where you are right now, I believe, unless you're in the States there, Philip. But joining us, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us for the second hour, at the top of the hour, we need to let you know that this is a live broadcast. This is not tape recorded. We have Tim from Sweden, who's telling us in the first hour the most incredibly touching story about his being abused and then actually prostituted out as a young man, and how he fell into drug abuse to the point where it dominated his life, his music scene that he was into. He explained to us that he went in and actually started distributing, selling drugs himself. Mr. Tim is talking about this for the first time, his life story, with the hope of helping other people that may be tuning in with the same type of black, dark past, and letting you know it's not okay that you've been put in that situation. There are more and more and more people like Tim coming out and explaining the situation, because until you start shining the light, as Jim just saying to us, shining the light of the lighthouse, these cockroaches continue to do their nasty work in the dark. They don't like that, they don't want the light shine on. So that's what we're doing here. That's what the story behind the story is really all about. We have opportunity. Those people who want to tell their story, that need to tell their story. We thank you, Tim, for coming on. Okay, so I'll back off. Let Philip continue on with leading in.
Yeah.
We have the second part of this, Tim. The story is let it go. Let it tell us what exactly we want the world to know. Philip, continue on. Thank you, sir.
Just before we get started, I just wanted to say once again, thanks, Tim. And you told me in the chat there you're shaking. Silver in the Revolution Radio chat says, "Good job, Tim. Proud of you." I've got multiple people sending me private messages, and some of them have had similar experiences, and they're telling me about how they're listening to you and they completely understand. And this
Mic drop. Hey, you are offline.
Oh, crap. Okay, hello?
There you are.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. I'd gone downstairs and then I left my key in the room and they had to unlock it. So I guess I just now got reconnected. But yeah, like I was, all I wanted to say was, it's beautiful when you can take a hurt, what happened to you was horrible. But by sharing your story, there are people out there, like I said, I'm receiving messages right now, private messages from people who are telling me that, it's helping them right here, right now. And for everyone I hear, I'm sure there's 100 more people out there who've had a similar story and, could benefit from this. So yeah, thanks so much for your bravery. Thanks so much for being willing to share your story. I'm gonna just turn it back to you. Tell us about the RFSL and you shared the pictures there, and it's ironic because it's just like what Dr. True was talking about. It's
well,
it's not even just phallic. It's got the testes and everything. Good God.
I gotta jump in here and tell you, Tim. I don't know where they got. That's the same mold for these suckers. I'm telling you, it's what I witnessed. They weren't rainbow colored. They were, as I remember, there were some mostly white looking, and there were some black looking. So I saw white and black, and I think there was some green and purple, but they weren't rainbow colored. But they were exactly, because I looked at them closely. They had the same thing. There was the ones with the testicles, and the other one, it just looked like it had not been circumcised. I saw. I mean, I'm getting a gut ache. It's a flashback memory of what I witnessed at the NAMBLA convention. But okay, so go ahead and tell us the story behind those posters, where they're being circulated. It's very real, folks. It's happening, and it's not okay. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, well, these pictures have been floating around. I've seen them both in Discord and on Telegram and on Twitter. And it actually struck me because I saw them and I was like, wait, these are Swedish ones. Like, this is from Sweden. And you can Google all this. And I Googled, this was an event last year in 2018 in a town called Finspång. Which is a small town next to a bigger, more urban town called Norrköping. And this was an event, as far as I understand, like a pride event on a school, which was sort of aimed like a sex ed for children. But looking at these posters and being, having been through what I've been through, it's like you have to see these to really understand it. It's like the background is the rainbow flag, and then imagine like the signs when you walk over like a crosswalk where it's like an adult holding a child and there's like red hearts in their chests, and next to them there's like a speech bubble that says in Swedish, every person's equal worth, and on the top it's like in big bold letters, no love is illegal.
That blew my mind. I looked that up. I'm like, that doesn't mean that. I look it up. That's exactly what that says. I mean, you told me, and I'm not calling. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe that. Nobody wants to believe that.
And looking at the both of them, like if you look at the other one, it's like this isn't just like lollipops. There's like one lollipop on the right that's like obviously a lollipop, but you can see that it's shaped like a penis. But on the left, the most sickest part, it's not just a lollipop, it's a pacifier. Like a pacifier lollipop shaped like a penis, a circumcised penis with balls on the bottom of it. And on the top, in big letters, it says, "Bring your children and their friends." And I gotta say, like, when you see things like this, and when you have people who's been through things like I've been, and you see this, and you see, what's it called? The drag queen book hours, and then you see the news where like 3 or 4 or 5 of them are actually sex offenders.
Yeah.
And it's like I gotta be honest with my LGBT brothers and sisters here. I can't blame people for getting hysterical. I look at this and I get sick. Inside my stomach, and it's like, how did this pass the blueprint table? How did anyone design this in the mind, like the one where they hold hands? I guess I can see that, okay, there might have been like a good intention behind this, but the pacifier shaped like a penis and having two of them on a poster where it says "Bring your children and their friends." No, I don't want to bring my children and their friends. I want to bring my friends and baseball bats, and I want to ask some damn questions. That's what I want to do. Like, and it's very scary, because this reminds me of what happened to me, like all the grown-ups and all the adult people around me who saw me, a kid, in a gay club, but didn't say a dang thing. That's what I get reminded of. I get flashbacks of this, like the world, like abandoning me, giving up on a child, just not saying anything for whatever reason. It's like, why? How did this get greenlit as a design? I don't get it. Like, I can't look at this with penises and no love is illegal. I can't see this as anything else. And I don't think anyone is bigoted for thinking the same thing when they look at this. And I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest again. How can I blame, the hysterical conservative boomers? Like, how can I blame them when this is something that actually happened, and this was an event that happened? This happened at a school.
Yeah. Wow. So the event was at a school.
Yes.
Now, explain a little more about RFSL, exactly who they are. I think you said they received some government funding as well.
I can't really say. I haven't, like, I've grown up with them being like the organization that helps bring like proper safe sexual education and prophylactics onto the market. I can't really say that I know anything about their government ties, or if there even are any. There might be, but I can't really. I don't have an informed answer for you, I'm afraid. I just know that they are like the organization for safe sex and LGBT stuff, because we have a pretty big gay scene in Sweden. I'm not really part of it, other than, being bi. I never really, I don't really use Grindr. I used to, but I don't use Grindr. I don't know anything about where the clubs really are. I was just taken there as a kid. If I can make that dark joke there, I was just taken there, I don't really know anything about it. So sorry, I can't really answer that question for you.
Once again, there's more folks in the Revolution Radio chat that, a lot of folks speaking positively and just giving their support. Thank you again. I know this is hard for you.
I think you disappeared again.
Phil, you are having a bad connection there.
They're supposed to be helped by this.
He's your connection.
No, he's just intimidated by my Scandinavian charm. It's okay. Don't be afraid.
Hey, yeah, but you're the wrong kind of Scandinavian. Where I come from, we call the Swedes the Norwegians with their brains knocked out.
Yeah, well, that's kind of true. I mean...
Jim's part Finnish, by the way, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jim, just drink your Lappinkulta and stay silent. I'm kidding.
Okay, Mike is mute.
Well, you said something and then you went robot on me, Phil. Can you repeat yourself? I think that now you went.
His connection is. You need to start talking to me, Tim. Tim, this is Jim.
Yeah,
Jim, this is
yeah.
Tim.
Hello, Jim. Hello, Jim. Jim and Tim. Nice to meet you.
Yump and Yemeni.
Yeah.
Right.
Jumping.
Yeah, let's get the robot out of here.
Well, that's
you're being censored.
So do I wait until the nightmares set in? Or... Okay, I'm going deaf.
I think you're out of load there. So.
Yeah,
Bill is interrupting us here because he's got the robot going. But what it is it's a lack of full duplex on his internet connection.
Yeah. I guess now that I have some dead air here, I guess I can say that I want to say to my LGBT sisters that I'm not condoning, people saying that all gay people or all trans people or all drag queens or non-binary people are like, pedos in hiding or just predators waiting to spring. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm advocating for here today is parents to do 150% in being involved in a supportive and nurturing, understanding way with their children. You have to understand your children. You have to, from an early age, show them that you want to develop a trust with them. That's what you have to do. You have to cultivate that trust so they aren't afraid to talk with you when something bad has happened or when they're in trouble. What you want is them to be able to say, man, I'm in trouble. I need to call mom. I need to call dad, and not think, oh shit, sorry, I'm sorry. I swore, I'm sorry. But you want them to want to talk to you. You don't want them to be afraid to talk to you because the consequences of getting in trouble is worse than being in trouble. I hope that made sense, but that's what I mean. Like, you have to.
You gotta offer support, and because kids need love and support and affection and attention, and if you don't give it, then they'll seek it elsewhere. And so many kids from broken homes or that didn't, they seek it out. And that's the thing. These abusers, these groomers, these monsters, it's like they've got a radar for that kind of thing. They see that. Yeah. And by the way, what you were saying, it's the same thing with the religious folks. Like I said, when I'm talking about how, we've got a epidemic of Baptists and Mormons and Catholics, and there's, any denomination you name, there are some people at the highest levels, preachers and bishops and elders and this and that are involved in this grooming thing, because religion, it's kind of a little club, and, people just listen, and the authority figure, you just listen to what they say. So, but at the same time, I'm not condemning religion or religious people either, because that is a small percentage. I'm condemning that small percentage, but absolutely, that doesn't reflect on the larger religious community, the larger LGBTQ community. It's definitely, for anybody listening, we are not saying that religious people are bad, that gay people are bad. We're saying that the ones who use those communities to target children, those are monsters. And I think we can all agree on that. Jesus was a pretty laid back guy. His whole philosophy is based on forgiveness and caring and love. But like True mentioned earlier, in no uncertain terms, he literally said, anybody who hurts a child, you'd be better off to have a millstone tied around your neck and thrown into the ocean. Dude, he literally said you'd be luckier to be drowned. So yeah, that's no uncertain term there. There's a special rung in hell for that. Yeah.
Philip, if I could, let me jump. I have a question here that I need to pose to Tim. Going back to those posters, if I could. You said this was sponsored by a school. Is this a public school or a private school there in Sweden?
I actually don't know. Most schools are public, but it's possible that it's a private school. But we do have public sexual education, so this could be part of like a bigger curriculum, and they just turned it into an event. It's not uncommon for high schools or middle schools to have school-related events on the weekends. This could be part of it.
I'm just looking at again, what type of school would want to promote, lollipop suckers? I submit here in America. In America, we have what's called elementary schools. That's kindergarten through like 3rd or 4th, 5th grade, depending on the size and place of the area. If those posters were promoted in kindergarten, let's say age 5 to age 10, my goodness, that just boggles the mind that they would be allowed to do that and make it seem like it's okay. Is that what you're telling us, Tim? Is that it's like allowed to happen?
It seems like it, because I mean, I look at these designs and I'm like, how did this get through? Like, are these people not seeing the same thing I'm seeing? Like, what's going on behind the scenes where no one objected to this? This went into print, and I'm wondering how and why. That's I don't really know what's going on, but I want to know now that I've seen this. So
the reason why I broached this question to you is I want to tell you my research into this topic going back. It was really why I exited the Mormon Church in 2001. There is a very real problem, and I think it's not only in, like I said, Mormonism, but Roman Catholicism, the pedophile priests, all of this. And here's the bigger picture. When children at a very tender age, anywhere from 5 years of age to 8 years, and that 3 years there, it's a well-known medical fact that the child's brain has not yet connected what's called the neural pathway. So there's a developing structure, and if a child is repeatedly and forcefully sexually traumatized or tortured, what happens to this individual is that they begin to become basically have altered memories. They have an alter that's called there's a terminology for it. It's called multiple personality disorder, or MPD.
So it's also called identity disorder. It's also called
Yes, DID. And so what I uncovered is there was a huge number of people that were traumatized, very much like the story you just explained to us, but in a kind of a much more concentrated, shall we just say, programmable way, so that these
Hitler
people
and G.H. Estabrooks, the CIA and the Nazis worked on using trauma to create, like, you could have a spy who, under torture, wouldn't reveal any information, but then you say this trigger word, and all of a sudden they start, they spill whatever message is hidden, compartmentalized. G.H. Estabrooks was a psychologist who they repeatedly abused kids to create, different personalities. Oh my gosh, yeah. And somebody's mentioning MK Ultra. Yeah, this is absolutely a mind control program.
That's how it's done, is through sexual trauma primarily and torture. Now, let me just there was in the question in the chat room, and I'll just go ahead and address this. And because I've had radio shows on this before, and I received a lot of hate mail and flack. Even a few death threats came out of this, but it's the true story. I got to know very well a woman. Her name is Gail. She's still alive, still living. As a young woman in her 19, 20 years of age, she got a couple of phone calls from a gentleman who is well known in Mormonism, but back then he was ascending the hierarchical ladder. His name is Thomas Monson. Thomas Monson called. He was a bishop at the time. He called Gail, and on the phone gave her nursery rhymes. Mary had a little lamb, her fleece was white as snow, etc., etc. And she was like, "What in the world?" And because she hung up. What had happened was he thought she was one of these programmable sex slaves in the Mormon kingdom, and she wasn't. He must have got his wires crossed some way, but he actually came and picked her up one night and said he was driving her, and she trusted him as a church leader. He took her up the canyon and proceeded to try to rape her. Took her, tore her blouse off, etc. She got out of the car and walked home and to get away from him. And yet all the time after that, he would call her up and say, give her nursery rhymes, thinking he could trigger her back into it. And I'm just saying this is one of the most heinous forms of the sexual predatorial reality. I mean, it's so pervasive. And as I started to dig into this and see how deep it goes, because Gail began, like you, to tell her story publicly. We had literally tens of dozens of people who began to have flashbacks of their repressed memories of being abused repeatedly by relatives and friends and people in very high powers of influence. And like you, at 26 years old, having to put their lives back together and try to keep from being suicidal and try their best to keep from descending into the hellhole of drug abuse, just like you said. So, Tim, I'm just telling you, this is the other part of the dark story here that I personally was involved with trying to help people with. So I can tell you, keep spreading the word. You're on the right track. It's okay to point fingers and tell the story and make, because it's not correct. It's not right. So I wanted to throw that part of the sequence out to you. As you piece your life back together again, the trauma is very real. That's what I submit. That's what you're going through now. But just keep focusing, like, the light of truth is what you have to focus on, and understand that you are okay. You're special. God doesn't make any trash, Tim. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Amen.
Go ahead. Carry on.
Oh, are you there, Tim?
Yeah, I'm here. I was okay. So it's my turn. Okay, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I had a thought in my head, and now it disappeared. So, thank you, younger self, just younger me, for ruining my brain cells. I got 2 of them left now. Thank you very much. But yeah. Where were we? I'm very sorry.
They're more
tired.
resilient than people think. You still have plenty, and over time you can rebuild your brain.
Yes, rebuilding. Yes, yeah. I'm definitely rebuilding. I've part of my therapy has been opening up to, like, my family, and opening up to just the therapist and to other people, being open about what I've been through, so that I'm finally heard, because for so long I went around feeling like nobody could hear me. I don't really have a voice, because I was down at rock bottom. I had to scrape by. I just had to focus on surviving.
your parents are probably decent people.
My dad is.
Yeah, and when they just didn't realize what was going on, and now that you're talking to them, they're probably so upset by knowing what happened.
Yeah. Now that I moved out on my own, I usually travel once a month or every 2 months to my father, and over a weekend, and usually we talk, and they give me some ciders and I start getting drunk. And across the past 2 years, that's sort of been like the catalyst for it was like a starting therapy. I could go up there and get drunk, and when I was drunk and didn't have the inhibitions, I was more brave, if we can call it that. I opened up to them about small certain things, and my father actually helped me get into therapy, actually, because I told him about that I almost overdosed on ketamine, and he was like, have you talked to anyone about this? And I said, hey, listen, I have no freaking idea where to turn, and I've wanted to do for so long, but I have no idea. And he helped me. And like the next day, I had like booked a meeting with a counselor, and he's actually paying for my therapy. He actually wanted me to get help so bad that he said, you know what, don't worry about it. Send me the bills. I'll take care of it. You need to get help. And, it's not about money, because I work and I could pay him back, but it's not really about the money. It's that it's a way for him to help, and I really appreciate that from him, that he is doing what he can to try and help me get my life back together, because I want to get less impulsive, less angry. I've walked around with 10 years of anger just building up inside. And I want to get back to being like a stoic, self-disciplined, the self-disciplined guy who gets himself, like a proper lady or sir, that's what I want. I just want stability, because these last 2 years of my life have been the best out of the 26 that I've lived in this hellhole. So I'm tired of living on rock bottom, and I've crawled myself back up, and I've showed my family, and I've showed everyone around me, and hopefully I'm showing everyone else out there who think that things won't get better. Things will get better, but you have to take the first step yourself. You have to get help. You have to. It's difficult to open your hands and say like, hey, screw it, I need help. Like, I'm not Superman. It's a difficult thing to admit that you need help, but you have to, because it's your life on the line, and there are people out there, strangers, family, and friends who are willing to help you, and there are people out there who care, but you have to try and take the first step towards help yourself, because there isn't no one else out there that cares more about you than you. It's you just got to do it.
Sometimes people just don't know until you tell. Yeah.
I understand it can sound maybe cheesy or easy to just say you got to do it. But you got to talk to someone. You got to, you can find information about how to get help. Talk with the people you trust, or people that can help you. You have friends, you have family, and there are professional strangers whose job it is to help you, that can help you. And the best thing that you can do is to try and work on being able to drop the past, and try to drop all the negative emotions that are still festering inside you. You have to try and let that go and transform that negative energy to be what propels you forward, what drives you. You can't give up. You can't give up. You can't dwell in the negative forever. You can't let it drag you down and destroy you. You just can't. You got to fight for yourself. No one else will fight for yourself but you, and you got to do it. Because you can. You're strong. We're all able to. We're all capable. I used to be, like I said, a big fat drug dealer with no education, and I managed to turn my life around. And if I got like 2 brain cells left to spare. If I can do it, then so can you. You got to believe in yourself. And I think I've rambled on for long enough.
No, not at all. Hey, no, like I'm looking at the chat right now. People saying, lots of love for Tim, talking about how inspiring this is. No, absolutely. Go on. There are a ton of people who are really appreciating what you say. And like I said, the folks in the chat room and the ones sending me personal messages, that's just a small percentage, I guarantee you, of the folks out there, some of whom, maybe they don't have, I'm so glad that, like you said, your dad, talked you into getting therapy and getting help. I'm so glad that you're here today. There's some folks that maybe don't have a positive influence, and maybe they're just switching through the radio dial and they happen to hear your voice, and I wonder what this is. Maybe they just needed to hear this today. And so yeah, absolutely. I'm going to shut up now and leave it back to you.
Well, thank you. I mean, lots of love to all the people in the chat and to all the listeners. I'm pretty bad with words, but if listening to me and hearing me tell my story helps you in any way at all, whatever microscopic little help or positive feeling it gets, I'm glad. I'm glad. That's all I want. I just want to help in some sort of way. That's why I'm sharing this. I want the world to be a better place.
Tim, this is Burdock. Hi, Tim. This is Burdock. I had a question for you. Is there anything politically in Sweden that you think could be done aside from calling it?
You're breaking up there.
Attention to it, or politicians that are supporting what you're talking about here is there, because for what I've noticed, especially with the immigration issue.
You're breaking up.
I think what he's asking is, apart from just raising awareness. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just asking about anything regarding politics that could be done in Sweden.
Well, as far as I've noticed, the American progressive LGBT scene is like a beast in its own. I mean, I've been to pride parades and pride events, like normal, just regular ones that are actually pretty okay, pretty low key, isn't really degenerate with all the swinging the penises around and being naked. So it's not really that crazy over here, actually. I actually would see the American LGBT scene as something separate from what we got over here. Sure, we have some like gender neutral like word stuff. There's one word we have that's hen, which is like a mix of him and her. That's like a neutral word. Mm-hmm. But we don't have anything. We don't have the like they bees and trans babies. I haven't seen anything on that level. The worst thing I've seen, to be honest with you, are these posters, and that's being 100% honest. I'm not, there might be things that I'm not seeing because I'm not dabbling in the LGBT scene. So there might be things I've missed. There might certainly be weird things out there. But on the other hand, there are people like me within my own, the whole community, if we can call it that, the LGBT scene, that really hate the whole, pedo uprising or whatever we can call this craziness going on right now. So, there are weird people out there, but there are also people like me who are being honest, like, hey, listen, there's some crazy stuff going on. There's some crazy predatory people around, and we gotta be honest, like, gay people, trans people, lesbians, bi people, we are all people, and people are capable of both great and bad things, so we gotta be honest, like, just because because I've been met with this before, and I gotta be honest, in the past I've not been very eloquent and good with my words, so I've come across as very angry and probably very bigoted at times. But when I've tried to tell my story at times in the past, I've been met with certain people who call me, like being a sock puppet or being like what's called, I guess, controlled opposition, or they're saying I'm playing into dangerous stereotypes and stuff like that, where I feel at times where my own community have alienated me by seemingly caring more about an image rather than accepting the reality that this meme, if we can call it that, of young boys being predated upon in the gay community, or that stereotype is sadly there for a reason, and I'm part of that statistic. I'm part of that stereotype, where I'm like a lost child who doesn't have understanding or compassion at home, so he reaches out, and someone who has bad intentions notices that I'm vulnerable and that I'm in a vulnerable position, and I'm putting trust in strangers, and then suddenly I've been groomed and think that the things I'm doing or being made to do or being paid to do, or things I think are good at the moment, that I don't realize that's bad, because that's what he brought me into this. He took me to these gay scenes. He took me to these weird places, and I thought that was okay because, I was introduced to this, so this must be what this is. It's sort of like, I can compare it in a way to, if you're brought up on porn from a young age, suddenly you have these behaviors that you see in the porn that you yourself copy, but because it's been imprinted in you, because you were young. And it's the same thing there, like this image, like this part. I saw like the back door, the like the VIP, I guess, the dark, dirty, gritty VIP of the scene, and I thought like, well, I guess this is it, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything else, because that's what I was brought into, like an old man giving me money for doing things and bringing me places and buying me alcohol and buying me, music albums like CDs and bags and clothes,
Like True was saying, kids' brains aren't fully developed. They're susceptible and open to suggestion, and some of these abusers, they and what's sad is sometimes it's a cycle. They know these tricks because they were victims themselves, but
yes,
and that does not make it okay though. Like I feel sorry for anybody who that happened to, and then they continue to cycle, but I don't feel sorry, like it's possible to feel empathy without feeling sympathy. Like I hate that happened to you, and I also hate that this, if if you then perpetrate it, then I've got no sympathy for you. I can have empathy for the experience that did that to you. But yeah, absolutely. And no, like I'm glad that you do. We always want to make a distinction. We've brought this up on the show multiple times, and I always try to make sure, because people like to twist words. And, you know, we're certainly not saying that, you know, all LGBT people or all religious people are predators, but you can't ignore the percentage that are, just because we don't want to hurt feelings. You know, it's worse than hurting feelings, hurting children.
Yeah, and it's all about that power, because, you know, with the, you know, the priests and all of those you know, events that were found out, it's all about the power. You know, this guy, in my experience, he had the power of introducing whatever he wanted to me and molding me after that. It's like, okay, well, I want him to do these things, so I have to introduce him to these things, you know. And so, you know, that, because kids trust adults. Like, you know, I remember being brought up like, you know, if I'm ever in trouble, go to some adult, because adults, you know, they can call the police and they can help you. So you know, you gotta, yeah, it's messed up, because kids trust adults, like because that's how they are, you know. Mom and dad and all the adult people know everything, right? You know, adults know everything, so they can help me. And sadly, that's what these people, that's what they do. They prey on that, you know, first, like, trust, or the, you know, there's a mix of, you know, the adults are supposed to help us, like that's ingrained in us, like a social thing. And then we have being like starved of all the understanding and social stuff from home, and because you're a broken home and broken family. And it's like, yeah, I'm rambling on. I'm sorry. I'm saying the same things.
No, absolutely. You're I think you're too hard on yourself, Tim. You know, Jim was saying, and I completely agree. You're very eloquent. You're also you're just very modest. You're, you know, but no, your English is perfect. You're absolutely eloquent, and please do go on.
Well, flattery is not going to bring you anywhere, sir. But thank you for the flattery. Thank you. I feel honored, sir.
I heard it would get anywhere, though.
Yeah. Well, you know, for all the people out there, I'm single and ready to pringle. So, you know.
Nice.
Finger guns.
And once again, that's what's the Twitter handle again, in case there's a rat-loving boy or girl out there who's fallen in love over the radio. What was that again?
Oh geez, oh Lord, oh God. Okay, let's see. It's Rat Daddy Tim, all in one word. The profile picture is a cute rat with a overall, like blue overalls. It's actually Maisie Mouse, a children's book with a mouse that I read when I was a kid. So it was.
Wow! Wait a minute. Is that like the Swedish Mickey Mouse?
No, it's not a Swedish Mickey Mouse. I think.
He looks like a Richard Spears character, actually.
Yeah, it's a very cute, like, crayon design. But no, I think it's some sort of children's book because it was already a thing in both English and Swedish language when I read it when I was I was a little child. It's like a really. But, you know, it's rat. So it's the first rat that I ever got to know in life. And now 26 years later, 20 years later, I have 3 of my own. So that's why I'm called Rat Daddy. So it's a fun play on words.
I hate when people use rat as like, oh, that person's a rat, and it's like, you don't know rats, do you?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is gonna be
between rats and like I guess a sewer rat, though. Yeah.
Yeah, the wild rats. They're big like cats, and they hiss too. So watch out for those. But yeah, this one is gonna be spicy. But I'm in a lot of different servers and chats. And in one of them, when I post, there's some people who post like one of those memes where it's like they're calling rats Jews, and I'm like, don't you dare insult rats like that. And everyone's like,
no.
So that's a spicy one. That's a joke, by the way. That's meant to be spicy. Okay, I'm not saying anything. I'm just, I'm pro rat.
Speaking as a Semite. When it comes speaking as a Semite myself, I'm half Arabic. I just want to say, making fun of and deprecating Semites is our job. Thank you. We do it better than anybody else. We don't need anybody else.
Yeah. Well, but that's because I'm pro rat and anti-human. That's basically it. It's like I think I put it best in my Twitter bio. If it's still there, I put. If you and a rat were in a burning building, I'd kill you first. Then I'd save the rat. So that's basically, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. But yeah, no. But these rats have been very, very good for me in in rebuilding trust. It's like these small animals that fit in my hand. They're very intelligent, but they're like social. But they're not really on my level, but you still have to figure them out. So that's been a great part in my therapy and gaining trust is, figuring them out, like how, because they're different personalities. Like they are like, maybe if I take a picture, you can't really see it, but if you were here and looked at them and, looked at them for a while, you would see they act differently and they have different personalities. And that's a big part of the whole trust thing, that they also trust me, because as much as I am figuring them out over time, they are figuring me out as well, because they know that I'm a big clumsy giant. I sometimes when I reach in to grab one of them, I slam my arm in the cage, and that happens. I try to not do it, but it just happens. I'm clumsy. But they have figured that out over time. Like they know I'm not out to hurt them, and they are very calm. They can sleep on my, I've actually brought one of them outside with me on walks, like without a leash, on my shoulder, walked around the block, and she's just sitting there like, yeah, I'm up here. We out here doing our stuff, So it's pretty cool. If I would recommend anyone to get a rat. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I don't think I have anything else, unless you have any questions you want to finish this off with.
Well,
I do have a burning question. Actually,
I need to stop giving you dates and times because I'm just embarrassing him, and he's like not getting any sleep because I'm putting him through hell to meet these deadlines. But we did go live yesterday, and we'll go live again soon, but I'm not going to say when because it's just making my engineers suffer. I'm sorry about that, guys. And Tim, you're a brave man. Thank you for speaking out. And
thank you for
I'd like you to come back again. I think that you've got a lot of positive stuff that you can share with people. Don't stop.
Yeah, Jim was saying you need your own radio show.
Oh, well, I don't know what I would talk about. I guess, well, I don't know. I'm such, I'm a nerd for like the Roman history stuff and Greek history and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know what I would talk about. But I want to thank you all for letting me on here.
Before we go, like I said, I've got a burning question, and I bet it's on a lot of other people's minds too. this is an important question to so many people. And Jim, you'll probably hear too. Why do Scandinavians eat like the fermented fish? Because that just seems like it would be nasty.
Actually, I don't.
Inquiring minds want to know, what is up with the fermented fish?
I don't know either, because I don't eat that crap myself. I don't. I took one smell of it when I was a kid, and I understood. It's like, this doesn't smell good. I'm not going to touch that. Thank you very much.
Lutefisk is the one you guys do. Lutefisk, and then in Iceland they've got they eat fermented shark, and it's I got a buddy I work with. He's Icelandic, and he's saying something, and I'm like, I'm not going to listen to your opinion. You guys eat fermented shark.
Yeah, like they have a museum full of penises. I'm not going to comment on that.
Really?
No, we have different things. We have lutefisk. These are all things I don't eat, so I'm not. I can't say anything about the taste. But we have lutefisk, strömming, surströmming, sill. But these are usually like you can buy them at any time. But usually they're mostly eaten like around certain holidays, like Christmas and Easter, and during the autumn when we have like crayfish boils, or like a light version of crayfish boils. We basically go and buy frozen crayfish, and then we let them thaw, and then we eat them and drink some alcohol. That's basically it. One thing I want to say before we end. I would love to come on some more times, but with the time zones and with my part-time work, it might not be very easy. But I think weekends, maybe at this time on a Saturday would be the best. Time.
Oh, hey, one question from the chat room: are you a PewDiePie fan?
Hell yeah, my brothers. Hell yeah, PewDiePie. Oh, nice. Brofist.
Hey, just don't have a gamer moment. We're on the air.
Oh no. No. I'm not.
Just a little meme there. Just a little meme for the folks who get the joke.
I'm not a bridge enthusiast.
Yeah. But wow, yeah. Wow, this has been a great show. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's been intriguing, harrowing, inspiring. Yes.
Yeah, can I say one other thing?
Take us out.
I just have. This might sound silly, but I have a band that I want people to listen to. Since we are spreading the goodness here tonight, I'm going to spread some good music to all of you. If you have ever heard the band Skindred, it's a very nice mix of metal, punk, and reggae, and they're very, very good. My favorite song of theirs is very fittingly enough called Rat Race. So pop onto YouTube and put that in, Skindred Rat Race, and have yourself a really, really nice time.
Nice.
And, that's all I have to say for today. Thank you very much for letting me on.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining us. That's it's been a great show, and just judging from, like I said, the chat room and personal messages I'm receiving during the show, I know you've made an impact on some people right here tonight. And thank you.
And thank you, and thank all of you listeners, and thank you all the people in the chat. Lots of love to you, and it's getting better. It's gonna get better.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hey, Tim, in your Discord, Gabriel sent his contact info.
Yes.
Go ahead and drop him a line. He's from Exposing Exploitation, also known as Academy Awareness, and we're involved with raising awareness about online grooming at places like YouTube and other platforms. So, by the way, folks, you can find, do a search for Exposing Exploitation, Academy Awareness, and you can learn more about how to get involved there too.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, I guess, good night, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out revolution.radio. And you can go to freedomslips.com/donate if you want to help support us. We're We're listener-supported radio. We're not getting paid to be here. We're doing this as a service. So if you'd like to help keep us on the air so that we can continue this service, please do. Also, any ads you see, go ahead and visit our sponsors. Any little bit helps. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, Philip. We are definitely out of time. Thank you, Tim. God bless you. God be with you. And thanks again, everybody, for listening to the show tonight. We'll be back on next week. We'll have a couple of special guests lined up as well. Again, thank you, Philip, for putting Tim in on the show tonight. We'll be well. Have a great weekend, folks, and we will be back next week.
Thanks for letting us on, Dr. Ott.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Good night.
Good night.